welcome to Keith Brace's In the Clubhouse, my sideways look at rugby union. Today, Chris, the same old, same old. All Blacks 24, England 21. Not to be the most anticipated game by English rugby fans for many a long year, probably since the, probably since the last World Cup when we failed flat to deceive, but we've lost now 5 times on the bounce to New Zealand, so they've got the Indian sign over us, you might say.
And you did have high expectations.
I did.
You were quite...
I thought that if England played 75% and New Zealand only played 25%, I thought we might sneak it. And to be fair, we started really, really well. The ex-Moseley man, who I saw play quite a few times at Bilsney Common, Johnny May, the England left wing, scored a fantastic try after about 10 minutes. He burned off Conrad Smith in the centres. They showed him the outside. He took the outside and left him for dead. Left him about 3 yards in his wake. Then, Johnny May, late of Hartbury College and Gloucester, as I say, Gloucester winger, and former Moseley man, then burned off Israel Dagg, the fullback, dancing round him in a tiny little space for such a big man, Johnny. I mean, Johnny May's a tall man, but he's quite deceptive. He's quite quick, actually, Chris. And he really, I mean, a lot of people have been doubting Johnny May because he's a bit of a headless chicken at times. He runs up cul-de-sacs. He runs up his own backside, you might say, sometimes.
Okay.
And but he really came of age with this try, and other people needed to step up, and sadly they didn't. Mr. Reliable for England, Mike Brown, had one of his worst games in the white shirt for many a long year, and squandered a golden opportunity to go 2 tries up, which I think might have been the end for the New Zealanders if we'd have managed to do that, get 2 scores up. He was given a pass. The pass was a bit in front of him. Sadly, he knocked it on with the liner gaping in front of him. All he needed to do was slide in and score if he'd have caught the ball. Forgot to catch the ball. Cardinal sin in rugby, you must catch the ball.
It's a good idea to catch the ball because otherwise it's a pointless game.
Absolutely. Well, you think it's a pointless game anyway, don't you?
It's a pointless game anyway.
It's not a pointless game.
No, it's a great game.
It's the greatest physical game invented by man, in my opinion, and I'm unanimous in that, Chris. I am unanimous. Yeah. I am, as Mrs. Bouquet would say, I am unanimous in my rugby love.
Yeah.
So it was a bit disappointing. I mean, what's been exercised in the English press is how Richie McCaw, Jim Lad,
avast ye.
Landlubbers.
Yeah, landlords.
Landlubbers, not landlords.
Oh, landlords.
Landlords. Piratical landlords, is it? I know they charge a bit for they have the skull and crossbones flying out of some...
Avast ye, landlords.
Avast behind.
Give me back my bent.
It's a great pirate name, isn't it, Richie McCaw?
Fantastic.
And he led the blooming All Blacks like a pirate as well. He was snaffling the stuff on the floor. There was one point where Dave Atwood went forward and Richie McCaw enveloped him in a tackle, and somehow Richie McCaw got the penalty against Dave Atwood, who'd gone into the tackle with the ball. Richie McCaw had wrapped himself round him on the floor, was on the floor, sort of cocooned round Dave Atwood, who, by the way, had a fantastic game. Well played, Dave Atwood. These great young men who stepped up to the plate. Dave Atwood was one of them on Saturday, and well done, Dave. And you've learned a lot since you moved from Gloucester to Bath. Hopefully you get a game this Saturday against the Springboks. But no, Richie McCaw gets away with murder, Chris. Absolute murder. Because I think it's because of who he is. And, he's the All Blacks captain. He's got 120 caps near enough.
So it's a bit like the Fergie syndrome, is it, do you think?
Absolutely. He's not a bully. He's a lovely man, Richie McCaw. And actually he's related to a friend of mine, would you believe?
Right.
Yes, I have.
So you've got friends?
I've got a friend, yeah. I've one friend, Bob Holland.
Friends,
yes. Is that from Despicable Me?
No, it's from In Between Us.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. I watched Despicable Me last night. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, right.
I've never seen it before. It's a cartoon, yeah. Mr. Gru and the little kids he adopts.
Oh, no.
It's fantastic. You ought to watch it. It was really good.
Yeah.
Brought a tear to my eye when he adopted those kids. It was so good. It was very good. My son put it on and we watched it, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
No.
I wonder what all these people were on about Minions and all this and Despicable Me, and but it was great. I loved it.
I did watch. I watched 2 films actually. So I watched Noah.
Oh yeah, that with what's his name, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That got great reviews. Is it good?
It was okay.
The special effects are fantastic.
It's a bit sort of like
CGI
sci-fi type.
Is it?
It is a bit
it's
a bit silly, but it's quite cleverly done. But
what was the other one you watched?
The comment from my wife was the best. Was what's that all about then?
Did she read the Bible, Chris? Not a bedtime read?
No, not really, no. Quite religious as well, yeah. Oh, the other film was In Between Us 2.
Are you into that, are you?
Yeah, it's quite funny. Watched that yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not into that, but I did watch Despicable Me, and I thought it was really good, and a good feel-good film. Anyway, back to the rugby. The All Blacks, Richie McCaw gets away with murder. The piratical so-and-so him. All he needs to wear is a black eye patch, and he'd be down there with Captain Jack Sparrow and his cohorts, but he does get away with murder, does Richie. But to be fair to New Zealand, they were deserved winners on Saturday. They first half they were second at the races, and England went in with a 14-11 lead. Second half they came out absolutely fired up. Obviously Steve Hansen, their coach, had given them a proverbial rocket up the backside. And they absolutely came out with all guns firing, and they kept the ball. And the telling statistic is that in the second half, England had 7% of possession in the opposition 22, which is absolutely awful. You're not going to score tries because the game is get into the opposition 22, put on pressure, especially England with a big forward pack. And scored tries that way. And when they did get into the opposition 22, they scored a penalty try. Now, are you familiar with that concept?
No.
Penalty try?
No.
Penalty try. That is where the referee, in his wisdom, deems that a try would have been scored where a piece of foul play took part. Right. So, and then he gives a try under the posts, which, good evening, Dr. Nick. I'm all right, thank you. I'm fine, thank you. Yes, penalty try. So England scored a penalty try, which was a bit demoralising for the All Blacks. But by then they got the game won. So it was pretty poor by England in the second half. And it was absolute monsoon conditions. And in the monsoon, the All Blacks showed England how to keep the ball, and they played a passage of play with 22 breakdowns, and it was fantastic to see. Behold, great skill. And then Freddie Fumaina, I think his name is, with the beard, looks quite hirsute. He scored a try, crawled in from about a yard, and that was it. Game over, I'm afraid. And so big disappointing for England. As I say, they didn't really fire, and for me, I think there's quite I don't think Stuart Lancaster knows his top side yet, Chris. And to be fair, they have been decimated by injuries. Possibly 6 first choice.
So how long has he been in the job?
About 3 years now. 2.5 years. 2.5 years.
Should you know by now?
Well, I think he's looking for that golden bullet. I think that person who's going to make the backs click. And he's running out of time, Chris. Frankly, because for me, Owen Farrell is just not cutting the mustard at number 10, and Carl Eastman on his inside centre, and Brad Barrett, who will never make an outside attacking centre, in my opinion, while he's got a hole in his head. Brad Barrett, great defensively, but not a great attacking centre. What's happened to Billy Twelvetrees?
What's happened to
Has he gone back to the reservation? I asked myself with the Exeter Chiefs.
Was he not in the squad?
Not even got a look in, not even in the 23.
Right, and they never said anything?
Well, Billy Twelvetrees, they were building a whole team around him 5 games ago.
He's just cast to the forward. About 4 octaves higher now.
Well,
so
Billy
must be pretty bad.
To be fair to him, he's not the most incisive of centres, but he gives that kicking option. And they seem to have ditched Billy Twelvetrees by, just by dint of the fact that Carl Eastman is more an aggressive
Is he getting
player.
on a bit, or is that?
No, he's a young man. He's only about 24, 25. But
right.
Billy Twelvetrees doesn't even feature anymore. And I mean, my first choice centres would be Luther Burrell and Manu Tuilagi, both injured. But injuries have upset England's rhythm. For me as well, they've got to give George Ford his head as well. For me, George Ford, the young pretender at Bath, who is the and frankly, for me, Owen Farrell just isn't doing it, and needs to be able to kick up the backside and let George Ford play against the Springboks. That might alter the whole way England play, because Farrell kicks for a position and England try and outmuscle the opposition up front with winning lineouts and scrummages and driving lineouts. But at this rate, we're not going to get anywhere near the World Cup unless we develop a coherent backline. And they played like strangers on Saturday, Farrell, Eastman and Brad Barrett. So I'd give George Ford a run on Saturday against the Springboks, which, things just don't get any easier. They've got the South African Springboks who beat New Zealand, who beat England on Saturday a month ago in South Africa. They beat them quite soundly, and so England will be. And actually, to be fair, Chris, the result of the weekend was Ireland 29. South African Springboks 15.
I saw that. Yeah,
that was a real
score.
It was a real upset. That was because the Irish have got about 17 players missing from their squad, and but they really stepped up to the plate. By all accounts, it was a mesmeric display from Johnny Sexton at fly half, who absolutely controlled the game and kicked for position and kicked his goals, and the Springboks just didn't have any answer to it. They played a tactically very astute game, the Irish, kicking for the corners for their tall wings to snaffle the ball and score. Tommy Bowe scored a good try, and the other one was scored by Rhys Ruddock, whose dad was a Welsh coach, would you believe? He's Welshman and he's playing for Ireland. Rhys Ruddock, can you believe that?
I suppose you choose, can't you?
To be fair to him, Mike Ruddock coached in Ireland for many years, and obviously Rhys was brought up in Ireland, so he's known mostly Irish rugby. So that's why he was playing for Ireland on Saturday, not Wales. But I'm sure his dad, old Mike Ruddock, who was an ex-Worcester Warriors coach, would you believe?
Razor Ruddock,
not Razor Ruddock. No, Mike Ruddock, Welsh international of great repute. But no, it was a bit of a letdown for me, the England performance. They flattered to deceive. All half time going in, they'd have probably backed themselves to win. And as I say, the All Blacks just stepped up 2 gears in the second half and wiped the floor with England. Really, they were never in any trouble, although the scoreline was close, 24-21, and England scored right at the end. Penalty try, as I say. They never looked like England never looked like eclipsing the All Blacks, who had a player sent to the sin bin as well, the hooker Dane Coles, who's got great skills, and people don't realise this about the All Blacks. The reason they're the top rugby nation in the world is because their forwards have almost as good as skills as their backs, and Dane Coles injecting pace into the line a couple of times and gave the scoring pass to Kieran Reid, who scored in the corner to kill England off the last try. And also Kieran Reid, as I say, he's got great skills himself, the best number 8 in the world. And the people don't realise, the skill set of the All Blacks forwards is so good. They've got props sidestepping and dummying and giving and taking passes, and they're just too good for us, I'm afraid. And if we don't start to beat them soon, we're going to get like the Welsh, get a complex about it, because the Welsh lost again, Chris. The Welsh lost to Australia, 10 games on the bounce that Wales have lost to Australia.
Didn't they have a good run at one stage, the Welsh, and seem to have slipped back into...
They won 3 Grand Slams in the last 8 years, so England haven't even got near a Grand Slam in that time, but they just can't seem to beat any of the Southern Hemisphere sides. They lost to South Africa in the summer in a close game. South Africa scored the last minute try to beat Wales in the summer. And Wales 28, Australia 33 on Saturday. And again, close but no cigar. And the Australians prevailed again. And of course, England have Australia not next weekend but the weekend after. So that's going to be another big game for the English. So the Aussies have a new coach now, Michael Cheika, who has coached. He's the only coach to win as I said before, the only coach to win the Heineken Cup and the Super 15. So he's got great credentials to take Australia forward. So yeah, it's 10 victories on the bounce for the Aussies. 1 over on Wales. Mighty close, but just managed to. They just can't beat those Australians, can the Welsh? So as I said, it's 5 successive victories for New Zealand over England, going back to that 38-21 defeat of New Zealand, which was nearly 3 years ago now. So 2 years ago, December 2012. So England haven't beaten the All Blacks since then, and it seems as though that the All Blacks have really galvanised themselves, thinking of that, using that record defeat by England to galvanise themselves in games against the English Red Rose team. So yeah, it was disappointing. Enough about England and New Zealand. So let's go on to other matters. As I said, the result of the weekend was the Irish victory over the South Africans, which was instigated and marshalled by the imperious Johnny Sexton, the British Lions fly half, now playing for Racing Metro in France, and he, by all accounts, he tactically won the game. I mean, the South Africans are so powerful and big and strong, yet the Irish were like little leprechauns. They were twinkle-toed.
Seed of rugby.
The patron saint of rugby, St Patrick. St Willie John of McBride. He's a lovely man. Irish bank manager, greatest rugby man ever, in my opinion. It's Willie John McBride, British Lions captain. Never mind. Another fantastic result was for the Scots, who seem to have come back from the dead somewhat. Scotland 41, Argentina 31. Captain Greg Laidlaw, playing at scrum half, was the man of the match in a 5-try victory for the Scots. Greg Laidlaw has now played scrum half for Gloucester at the moment, along with his half-back partner at Gloucester, James Hook, who's been called up by the Welsh for the Wales v Fiji game this Saturday into the squad because Rhys Priestland had a groin strain. Mm-hmm. Nasty. So yeah, James Hook and Greg Laidlaw are a great half-back combination for Gloucester. Actually, Chris, I'm going down to Gloucester on Friday to watch a game.
Off to Gloucester?
Off to Gloucester, I am, no, the Pirates are coming back in.
Mr. Foster?
Mr. Foster off to Gloucester, yeah. Mr. Bracey off to Cirencester.
Almost rhymes.
No, does not quite.
No, it doesn't.
Tumbleweed coming in. And so I'm going to watch my first ever Aviva Premiership game, Chris.
Oh, right, okay.
Gloucester versus the Harlequins. I'll tell you how that came about. And it was I won a competition. I won a competition, Chris. Aviva, who I've got various.
When you say you won a competition, did you win anything? Because
I won 2 tickets to Gloucester versus Harlequins, worth about 60 quid.
Well,
so I've done well, yeah. So I won 2 tickets to the Gloucester Harlequins game through my policies with Aviva. And I'm going to see my first ever Aviva Premiership game. Watched a lot of Championship rugby. I'll be interested to see how the hits and the physicality of it is compares with the Aviva Premiership.
Is there any more news on Coventry and Wasps? Is that a dead cert now?
It's happening. It's happening. The first game will be against Castres in early December in the Heineken Cup. Not the Heineken Cup. The British Rugby Champions Cup at the Ricoh Arena. And here I want to give a big shout out to Worcester City, those other Wussy boys who beat Coventry the 1987. It was yesterday in the 1987 FA Cup holders. Worcester City 2, Coventry City 1. So I bet you those Worcester Warriors, the rugby team, would give their eye teeth to be playing Coventry in the Premiership at the Ricoh Arena and beating them. Never happened. They didn't win many away games when they were in the Premiership, did Worcester, but great shout out to Worcester. Well done.
Fantastic.
They haven't even got their own ground. Actually, I heard they haven't got a home ground. It's been sold, I think, and they're looking for a ground. So perhaps they could move in with Worcester Warriors. What about that one, Chris?
That was their problem, and Coventry's problem's solved now with Wasps.
Absolutely.
Really, yeah.
Why not? Ground sharing, the way forward.
Yeah, that's right,
What do you think?
Of course, yeah. Villa and Blues.
Never happened. Too tribal.
We never happened.
Too tribal.
We never
It's a
happened.
song. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Too tribal.
I don't really know any tribes where it would work, to be honest.
Liverpool, Everton. Nah.
Never
They're only
work.
across
Never
Stanley Park,
work.
isn't they? Man United, Man City.
Never work.
Never work.
Never work.
It happens in Italy, though, Chris.
It does, yeah.
AC and Inter.
They don't understand football out there.
Well, they've only won the World Cup about 4 times. You know, they're not bad at football.
They don't understand the history of the world, football.
British football, you mean?
Yeah. No, the football.
The fact that it's fired by morons who can't help fighting one another and getting drunk and kicking the SHI-1T out of
That's
people.
what it's all about.
It's not. It's
Of course
about.
it is.
Well, it is in this country. It's not in Italy. Mind you, they have their ultras, don't they? I suppose. But they don't have any trouble at the San Siro when AC play Inter, do they?
No. Oh, apparently Worcester are using Kidderminster Harriers, so I've just been told in the shout box.
Oh, excellent. Who's that from on the shout box?
That's from young Capo.
Thank you, Capo. Good evening to you.
He's a mine of information.
He is a minor of information.
Minor of information.
Minor of information. Yes. Oh well, yeah. Well, my son had trials for Kidderminster Harriers. Would you believe? At football. Yeah, he wants. I'm taking him to the rugby on Friday night, down the M5 to Gloucester, as I say, Glass, and he wants to be a sports psychologist. My son got first class honours in his degree. Would you believe? Big shout out to Adam Bracey. Well done, Adam. Hope that you succeed in your aim to become a sports psychologist in football. And about 3 weeks ago, he attended a course at the New St George's Park, the FA Centre of Excellence in Burton, which is absolutely fantastic.
I've heard it's good.
It's
absolutely
brilliant. It's like the Hilton Hotel in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And they've actually got a full size football pitch covered over in a big shed, which is fantastic.
What?
Well, I don't know how they get by with kicking the ball up in the roof because it would just bounce back down again. But they got a full size football pitch. Adam said he played on this pitch, and he said it was absolutely brilliant. It was like playing at Wembley. He said. So yeah, well blown, Adam. Big up to Adam. Good luck, son, in your ambitions, and well done on getting your first class honours. Don't know where he gets his brains from, Chris. Must be from wife.
I have no idea.
Well, certainly not me. Is it?
Yeah.
You know one thing about him though, he never reads books.
No.
Never reads books. It all comes naturally to him. All this writing, essays, and all that. He can just do.
A few of us.
I read books. Yeah, you don't read books.
No, I don't read books.
Don't you read books?
No.
Haven't got a book in the house.
Loads,
but you don't read them.
I've read 2 books.
What were they?
I read Lord of the Rings actually.
Did you? Yeah. I read The Hobbit.
When I was young. Yeah.
Did you? I bet that was hard going, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was a bit.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah.
All 3 books.
All 3. Yeah, I started again only because it was the in thing at the time.
Well, it was, wasn't it, in the 70s? Yeah, growing up. Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. 70s.
You know, I've never read it.
Have you?
Never read Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit, and I love The Hobbit. I think I had it read to me by an inspirational teacher at my junior school, Mrs. Jean Morris Jones. Now, you won't believe this. She used to bring her dog to school. Honestly, that's no word of a lie.
Couldn't do that now.
You couldn't do it now.
You couldn't do that.
Mambo, the toy poodle, used to sit in the corner of the class in his little basket, being. That was his name. I remember it clear as if it was yesterday. Mambo. Mrs. G. Morris Jones's dog used to come to school with her and sit in the classroom. No word of a lie. That was about 1963-64. Now, the fact that her husband was the headmaster may have had something to do with her getting away with it, but
Probably.
Never know. Anyway, enough of my school days. Back to the rugby. Now, in the championship, Mosey scored a much-needed victory, 16-9 against London Scottish. And those Cornish Pirates, Jim lad, they lost again in the British and Irish Cup to Nottingham, 28-13. And in the LV Cup, Exeter 18, Bath 6. And on Friday night we had a slew of LV Cup England v Wales fixtures, with the Scarlets 7, the Saints 21. Ospreys 9, Saracens 21. Quins 31, Newport Gwent Dragons 28. And the only victory for one of the Welsh regions on Friday was Newcastle Falcons 21, Cardiff Blues 22. I mean, the LV Cup, yes, it's the Anglo-Welsh competition. Very much after the Lord Mayor's show, takes second fiddle to the autumn internationals, and basically it's played mostly by reserves and young players coming through. But still, it was the big result for me was the fact that Exeter Chiefs beat Bath in that West Country derby 18-6 at Sandy Park. And some of the other results from Wasps 43, London Irish 22. London Welsh still can't win a game. They haven't won a game this season. London Welsh 9, Gloucester 18, and Leicester Tigers 29, Sale 13. Now that made me think of Danny Cipriani, the Sale fly half, who we all heard of.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah,
Mr. Showbiz for rugby. Very much used to be the glamour boy of rugby, but now he's knuckling down. I mean, this time in the summer he was playing for England against New Zealand, but sadly he must have been. He wasn't even in the squad for this for these autumn internationals, and was probably not looking forward to playing against Leicester Tigers, with the Tigers running at him at Welford Road on Saturday afternoon. And say the Tigers beat Sale 29-13. Now, I wanted to mention as well the fact that the Dixonians had a game on Saturday, Chris. Right. Would you believe? My club. Okay, yeah. My junior club. We played for the first time in 10 months.
Oh, yes, you said. Yeah,
I am an old dick.
Yeah.
I'm an old dick.
Yeah.
And we played the old Eds.
All right.
Not the old sore Eds, the old Eds. It was between the Dixonians Rugby Football Club and Five Ways Old Edwardians Rugby Football Club. And sadly, we got tatered. 76 points to 5.
That's pretty bad.
We played in a paddy field. And no, it wasn't inhabited by Irishmen.
You started excuses straight off.
Well, I mean, it was biblical. The downpour on Saturday lunchtime was absolutely biblical.
So you were a great team, but you were beaten by the elements.
Well, basically. The problem was, Chris, we only had 11 players, which is sad.
Is it?
But we're 13, building.
Is it? 13?
We don't have 15. Sorry. 15, you don't even know 15 for rugby union. 13 for rugby league, Chris. 13 for rugby league. But no, we only had 11 players. But in the spirit of rugby, which they gave us 2 of their players because they're
the worst players, I reckon.
No, they weren't too bad. Mind you, the one of them had the bigger breasts than my wife actually, and he was a big lad.
Doris from the canteen.
No, his name was Milky. Big shout out to Matthew Morn, right. Milky Morn, who played for Five Ways and also scored. He scored a hat trick of tries. Would you believe?
Why was called Milky?
Could be that link.
Could
be that link, yes. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that, Chris. Yeah. Very funny, yeah. I do. Sorry, I hadn't really. He's very blonde haired. I don't know whether that's got anything to do with it. But no, he scored 2 tries for Five Ways. And then when he switched sides to Dixonians, he scored Dixonians' only try as well. So well played, Milky. Well done, mate. And I know you're probably not listening because you've never heard of my show, but well done to Five Ways Old Heads. They eclipsed the Dixonians, who played, as I say, for their first game in 10 months after playing last December 2013. We're on the way back, Chris. That's all I can say. We've got a game this Saturday. If anybody wants to come down and watch, we've got a big screen. You can watch the internationals. Football. No, we didn't have the football on. We had England against New Zealand rugby on.
Of course, yeah.
We had the rugby on. We don't watch football in the Roeheath Pavilion. Mm-hmm. We watch rugby because we've got a big screen. And we watched the second half of the England-New Zealand game, and very disappointing it was too. But I watched the first half, I might have got a bit more excited, but never mind. No, you can come down, have a few pints, have a cup of coffee, have something to eat. There's a nice cafe there. If the weather's nice, there's a lovely children's play area and outdoor seating area. Have a few beers, something to eat, watch the rugby on the big screen, or watch the Dixonians strut their funky stuff against the Birmingham University Engineers. Have you heard of that?
No.
That reminds me of an old rugby song I used to know. An engineer told me before he died, rum titty bum titty bum titty bum. An engineer told me before he died, he had to break rum titty bum titty bum titty bum.
We need that bleep button. Bleep 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 bleep.
We used to sing that many years ago as a young student at Nottingham University. It's got many verses, and it was a bit akin to the 4 and 20 virgins came down from Inverness. And you know what happened to those virgins?
Out of all the lines, we could probably say one.
Indeed.
Probably, yeah.
Well, you know what rugby songs are like, Chris.
I know.
They don't do it anymore. I tell you what, 6 o'clock in the clubhouse, the name of my show, in the clubhouse, I was actually in the clubhouse. There were 3 of us there. There was me, Angus McMeeking and Cathal Lynch.
Angus me goat up.
Angus McMeeking and Cathal Lynch. The newly married Angus McMeeking. He was there, and we were the last three there.
Yeah.
And we're the oldest three as well. All these young rugby players, they bugger off and go and drink their blooming milk. And
as Bob Dylan said, times they are a-changing.
And the tumbleweed are rolling in, and we can hear the music playing in the background in that chapel of rest near my care home, which I'm now being taken back to by my carer. Good night to all of the loyal listeners to Keith Bracey's In the Clubhouse. I shall be in bed and tucked in bed by 8:30. So thank you all for listening. Good night, John Boy.
Good night.
Good night, Grandpa.